Give me that. Give me that. Give me that.
Pow, welcome back to another episode of SUMELEVATE. In this episode, we have a great guest with us today, Jared Grantham. And as a love and liberation alchemist and co-founder of Limitless Love and Leadership, Jared Grantham is on a mission to activate a global community of embodied and integrated leaders. Jared inspires and awakens through online coaching programs, retreats, videos, speaking events, and soon-to-be podcast. He lives to be the exception in all areas of his life, and his relentless thirst for growth and optimization has seen him traveling around the world and learning from world-class gurus, coaches, and change makers. Jared is obsessed with supporting people and creating a life of liberation, truth, authenticity, and passion, tapping into their limitless potential. Here's a quote he has for us today: "You deserve the world, and the world deserves you." It's great to have you on, Jared.
It's an honor to be here, brother.
Great. So there's some great topics we've got planned for you. So let's just dig deep in right away. Let's go right into this. So what made
ready,
you...
man. Always ready.
Great. So what made you start this journey in the first place, brother?
Yeah, man. So I suppose I've been into this self-development world for quite a while. Right from the first time when I was actually 15, and my dad had booked tickets for Tony Robbins' UPW, Unleash the Power Within.
Wow.
And what happened was he had booked tickets for his best friend and himself, and his best friend couldn't make it due to commitments with his family.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, "Do you want to come?" And I'm like, okay. I was 15 years old. I didn't know what Tony Robbins was, and I just said, yeah, of course, I'm down. And didn't know what I was getting myself into. It was a roller coaster at 15.
Mm-hmm.
I actually then went back into it again 2 years ago and had a profound experience. It was actually quite remarkable how much I actually remembered and what I had the access to over my from like 15 all the way to 30 now is, just a series of events that led me to dig deeper into my own self. I've been into self-development for a long time, but then what happened is there was a big element of myself that I was rejecting, say the spiritual side, the side that helps us to connect to who we truly are as an individual,
Absolutely,
so,
yeah.
I suppose what was one of the biggest catalysts over the last sort of 3 years was a quite intense breakup that I went through, which was something that I attracted, and it was painful, and it brought up some serious stuff. I was basically living in my shadow, addicted to drugs. I was addicted to partying, addicted to sex. I was going through depression. I had severe anxiety. I looked successful, like visually, and I had heaps of money in the bank, but I was broken inside, So my catalyst was my spiritual awakening when I essentially was experiencing all of those things all at once, and my body, my mind, and my soul was like, something needs to fucking change. So
yeah, you reached a crisis point, right?
That was it, man. I just hit that point where it's just like, you have to change, otherwise you will kill yourself or you will die, one of the two, So it was a deep place to be in, a scary place to be in, but I'm so grateful for it right now, and I sit in gratitude for my entire journey in this moment.
That's really amazing, man. And that's just so inspiring for other people, listening, who are perhaps in a similar position to you, knowing that to where you were, where you started, and where you are now, right? It's incredible. So, in terms of your own journey, they say the road to excess leads to a palace of wisdom, right? So it was your road to overindulgence that led you to really realize that, okay, maybe this is a little too much for me. And that's incredible. So there's a term that gets thrown around a lot in the self-development industry. I'm sure you've heard it one too many times, and that's self-love, right? And I think a lot of people understand it from being this buzzword or way to signal virtue, but everybody has their own definition for it. So this is why I'm interested in your take and what it means to you, and where could one begin if they're looking into this journey of loving themselves. Where could one begin when beginning on this path?
Yeah, okay, the journey of self-love is an interesting one. and it does lead to so many other places. And what I found myself very fascinating about it is generally people start with the mirror work, the Louise Hay style mirror work, and like looking yourself in the mirror and saying, I love you. And that's powerful, and it does work, and it has its place.
Yeah.
But where I think people may be falling short is they practice self-love for a period of time when they're in a tough place, but then when they're in a good place, they forget to keep practicing it, So what I found that really works for me, and I integrate into my life, is I treat everything as a reflection of self-love. So from the way that I nourish my body, to the way that I dress myself, to the way that I talk about myself to others, to the way that I connect with people. Everything in my life has now become a reflection of self-love and living in highest alignment, So self-love is a beautiful thing, and it's such an important thing to experience in order to experience joy, fulfillment, and happiness within yourself, and also to attract love, unconditional love from other people. And the best place to start, I feel, is really connecting with yourself, whether it's through the mirror, whether it's through meditation, whether it's through even potentially breath work, and really building that relationship with yourself, really connecting with yourself, feeling into the vibration of your heart, and really allowing yourself to be present and see what comes through for you. Now, this can be a deep journey. Some people, like, starting with mirror work is intense. Some of our clients is quite intense, but what they can do is start there and keep it basic, and then as time goes on, let it be progressive. It's like meditation. Like, meditation is a beautiful thing to practice every single day, and I still do practice it daily, but the whole idea behind it, the concept of meditation, is beautiful and powerful, but it's meant to teach us how to live in a different state, how to live in the present moment, how to be consciously aware of every move we make. So the progression from having a daily 1 hour or 20-minute or 30-minute meditation practice daily should then progress into a way of being and a way of living.
That's great.
One might call being conscious, so to speak, and just being aware of the self and your surroundings and your environment every moment, So all of these things are called practices until we get to the point where we understand what the feeling feels like, what self-love feels like. Because when we say the word self-love, what that means to me is, if I say it to myself in the mirror and I'm looking myself directly in the eyes, my whole body has a reaction, and I start to get like tingles at my body. And that for me is the definition of self-love, when you actually feel it throughout the cells of your body vibrating, and people can see it in your eyes.
Right. Great.
Self-love is a big topic, man. And one of my favorite things to do is there's put on a song like Can't Take My Eyes Off You by Damien Rice. Very, very poetic and passionate song. And just stare in the mirror. It goes for 3 minutes, and just stare in the mirror whilst listening to the song. And for me today, I did this recently myself. I do it weekly most of the time. I still get tears, but the tears of pain evolve into tears of joy and tears of acceptance and appreciation for self. So it's a beautiful journey.
Great. It's almost like you're taking the practice and you're embodying it, and you're making a lifestyle out of it, and that's reflecting onto other people around you. That's great. I love that definition. Great, man. I want to get into a topic of conscious relationships, and I know with your queen, Abigail, by your side, you've really seemed to grow together. And in your opinion, what really makes a relationship conscious? Yeah,
interesting. I love that. What's fascinating is it's a term that's starting to become really common in the spiritual community and the conscious communities. It's like a conscious relationship. What does that mean? I feel like everyone's chasing it, and it's what's beautiful about it is it's like dating yourself, because if you're extremely conscious and aware, it's like dating someone that can see all of your shit straight away. Like, they see everything that you are. There's nothing to hide anymore. You know what I mean? So when you're in a conscious relationship, the veils of pretending who you are or pretending to be a certain type of person get dissolved. Because they're in my position. Like, Abigail is an incredible, phenomenal coach. She truly embodies unconditional love, and she's a powerful leader. And I am so grateful for the day that I met her. But the reality of it is it's like being in the spiritual gym every single day. Because she sees everything. So before I want to try and manipulate a situation, if that was a part of who I may wish to be, then I can't do that anymore, because she'll see it instantly. If I were to try and not stand in my truth and not speak my truth, she would feel it in her body and say, babe, there's something else you need to share. So there's a level of connection that you experience on a deeper level.
It's almost intuitive, right?
It is, yeah. And what I believe a conscious relationship is it's when two people, a good friend of mine calls it this, but when two people are willing to run with God. Now not even in the religious sense, but more in the spiritual sense, like run in a and take life on in a powerful way, and to develop themselves with a growth mindset, and to continue to move forward no matter what comes up. Because one of the things that we did to awaken and become the most authentic version of ourselves was let go of layers of conditioning and ego and depression and cultural conditioning and all that kind of stuff. That is essentially what we did in the process leading up to meeting each other. And then when I met her, I was like looking at a reflection in the mirror. I'm like, oh, you are me. Oh, wow. Right. And it wasn't even like, oh, she's attractive or she's beautiful or she's she's really conscious or she's really spiritual. It's like, you are me. Like, wow, okay. So it was very profound. And what happened is, we'll tell our full story another time, but we met, and our relationship defied all of my conditioning, my previous conditioning around relationships. So we'd met at a workshop but didn't speak. We became friends on Facebook. We then started to connect after I watched her Facebook Live, and she drew me in, like attracted me. And I was just like, I couldn't stop watching. I filled out all the questions she'd asked, shared her video, sent her a message and went, wow, you are incredible. It wasn't even in the context of like, wow, I want to date this girl. It was more like, you're amazing, you're incredible, and I love what you're doing. So it was the intention was very pure. And then what happened is it just segued into this period where we're just talking and talking and talking. Within 8 days on the phone, I said, I love you to Abigail, which for me, and I hadn't seen her in person, I hadn't connected with her, touched her, kissed her. I said, I love you to her, because the promise we'd made to ourselves, because we were feeling strong emotions within 2 days, is we would catch our ego as it wanted to come in and sabotage the process we're going through. So being mindful of that throughout the process, and realizing that the ego wants to come in and say, you can't say you're in love, you can't say I love you, it's only been 8 days. You haven't even touched this girl, you haven't kissed this girl, you haven't slept with this girl, you haven't, all of these things that we believe we need to do in order to actually be in love, we hadn't actually done yet. And I'm like, wow, but I'm a different person now. I've actually been awakened, I'm conscious now, so maybe I'm not the same as my previous condition. And then within 2 months, we moved in together. Within 2 months and 2 weeks, we started a business together. And now we live in Bali together. And we actually, we don't know what the honeymoon period is, because when you show up to an event or a relationship as your authentic self, they get to see the real you from the beginning. I find that people that are in a relationship that call the honeymoon period, they make that even a thing. If they're even saying it's a thing, it means that one of them or both of them have been faking it, pretending to be the best version of themselves, pretending for the first 6 months until they get tired, or until the person says, I love you, or they get engaged, or whatever it is, and they go, oh, I can just fucking let go now. I can just relax, So being conscious means you're yourself through and through, and you're willing to put in the work on yourself, in your own process, fall in love with yourself every single day, and be present and hold space for them to be through their process as well, So it's deep, it's powerful, but our growth, we've taken quantum leaps since the connection we've built together, So in business, in relationships, in everything else, in our level of leadership, like since we've gotten together, we've just quantum leap after quantum leap, and I'm very, very grateful, but honestly grateful for myself, for putting in the deep spiritual work and spending 3 hours in meditation and working through my shit, and just working through all of the stuff that I'd been, holding on to and suppressing in my body. I spent months and years just grinding it out, practicing yoga 8 times a week and just taking it to the next level and getting spiritual healings and doing ayahuasca journeys and getting coached by all kinds of people like Preston Smiles and whoever, like all the beautiful coaches that are out there at the moment. And just allowing myself to be seen and witnessed, and then allowed my God self to shine through. and then this is when a true conscious relationship can come into presence, because I feel like it can be defined in so many ways, a conscious relationship, and I feel like it's a word that is beginning to get thrown around very lightly.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is what people think it is and what it actually is are two different things. Because it's actually more work than a normal
Right.
relationship. It just means that you become a greater version of yourself faster in the process.
Right. It seems like it doesn't really keep you in a comfort zone. It keeps you slightly in a bit of a stretch zone because you're always showing up and being authentic, and they can see through any of the BS that you've kind of built up through.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting. What are some ways for somebody who's beginning to explore this idea of a conscious relationship? What are some ways to be very real in terms of getting your thoughts out there and not put on this persona to begin with? What are some quick ways in terms of just, I guess one of the ways would be to actually catch it and to recognize it. However, is there some kind of communication that comes throughout you guys being together that, okay, this is, or does it happen intuitively and naturally? That was my question, is that what is the way to be fully authentic, and what is a way to really begin that journey with somebody else?
Yeah, of course, because even if you're in a relationship and you're not quote unquote conscious, or one of you is and one isn't, that's up to the individuals to decide. One thing I'd like to add as well is one thing we've brought into the space of our relationship is a bit of space to be unconscious.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because what can happen is if you are in this so-called conscious relationship, you're always on, and it can be very intense,
It can be, yeah.
Being a little bit unconscious and saying, hey babe, I know that I'm not really present today and I'm not really myself, but I need a bit of space to actually be unconscious because there's just so much going through my body right now that I'm not even aware of what's happening right now. So it's just that communication, and I think that, coming down to like having specific conversations and communication, it really does come down to intuition. We don't structure and plan. We don't structure and plan when we're going to have like real talks, like real deep conversations, because we don't argue. We've gotten to the place where we've learned how to not project, and we catch ourselves and work through our own shit and realize what's actually valid and what's a projection from our conditioning or our wounds from the past.
Yeah.
And we've created a space to, if one of us gets triggered, sometimes the play is actually giving that person space for 30, 40 minutes or even half an hour, even half a day, to just be in their own process. And then when they've worked through and actually picked apart what part of this can I own, what part of this is actually mine, and then come back to conversation, it's then now a discussion rather than an argument. And it's having the ability to catch yourself when you feel like, because we all have that aggression and that snappiness that wants to come out, especially when we're stressed or tired or hungover or whatever it might be, whatever we're experiencing, it still wants to come through.
Yeah.
But it's just having the awareness to go, okay, before I project, let me check in with me and make sure that this isn't a projection of my wounds from my ex-girlfriend or from my parents or from my dad or from wherever it might come from, So it is very intuitive, to answer your question.
Yeah.
It's not something that we plan. What we do plan is we have like boundaries and like sort of guidelines as to what we request of each other in order to support each other on a regular basis. Something that me and Abigail have done for a very long time is one request that she might have is, can we just have 30 minutes at the end of the day, 9 p.m. or 9:30 p.m. to just connect, not have sex, but then connect, just be with each other, let go of everything else and let go of our clients' problems for a second, and let's just be present with each other and check in with each other. That does get challenging, but we've got to commit to that and continue to commit to that. So things like that. And for me, I like meditating with Abigail. So I'm a breathwork meditation fanatic. So it's something special about even just 10 to 15 minutes in the morning meditating together and just connecting on that level, not speaking, but just in that same energy vortex, in the same auric field. And that to me is really of service to me in our relationship. That's making like requests and saying, this would serve me if we could make time to do this 15 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever it ends up being, whatever is required. And if we're truly conscious, we can go, okay, I love you, I see you, and I want to build that connection with you, and I don't want to fall off the bandwagon. I don't want to, get four years into the relationship and get divorced or break up and have a really bad breakup. Because the reality of it is if we stay conscious and we check in with the needs of our partner throughout the entire process of the relationship, most relationships won't break down. They can fall out of resonance if people are growing in different directions. But if it's the general stuff where people just stop caring and they go into complacency and they just stop actually putting effort in, they stopped actually taking action and actually acting in a way of love, and like bringing that forward as a verb, not as a noun. Actually taking action on love rather than just saying I love you and then having nothing else get attached to it, no action or expression in the self, in the body to go along with it. And that's how we become unconscious and complacent. We make our entire, for those of us that don't actually have kids, we make our entire life about work and the kids. And then we complain or we regret when our marriage breaks up, when our relationship breaks up, and the kids are dealing with two parents, split birthday, split Christmas, and then we blame everything else. But the reality of it is the most important thing in our life is our intimate relationship, because if there is nothing better in a family when both parents are madly in love. What a beautiful example they are setting for their children and for the people that are around them. So we make it about the kids, we make it about the business and the work and all that kind of stuff, and it sounds good. We say, only for a period of time, only until I grow older, or only for 3 months because the business is really taking me off, and then 8 years goes by and we're like, fuck, I'm depressed, I'm miserable, I've got anxiety, I got all this fucking money, I don't like my wife anymore because she's gone overweight, or she's done this, or she doesn't love me anymore, whatever their stories might be. The reality of it is they drop the ball too soon. They get complacent and don't actually stay conscious in their relationship and take action on the actual process of love.
That's really great. I think this is a great segue to ask you a little bit about breathwork, and because you speak very passionately about it. I really want to know where did you begin this breathwork journey, and what is your favorite? If you could just give people just some very quick tools in order to just enhance 100%. Their breathwork. Go for it.
I'll give you guys two tips. I'll first tell you the story as to why I would call it obsessed with breathwork. And why I breathe. I don't go a day without breathing. I probably breathe 4 times a day most of the time. So probably I'll call it the scariest period of my life was about 2 years ago, or 2.5 years ago now. And it was when I was suffering from severe panic disorder and anxiety. It was like to the point where I was having episodes, anxiety attacks, for about 45 minutes at a time, 4 times a day. And for anyone that doesn't know what anxiety attack feels like, for those that are watching at home, anxiety attack feels like you're dying, your heart's going to explode, your hands crumble up, your neck freaks out, your whole body goes into this weird funk, you can't be around people, you can't breathe, your heart starts to go ballistic, and you start to fear dying, like you actually feel like you're going to die. And when you're in a panic attack, that's a signal that you've been ignoring your intuition and ignoring the signs for a long period of time. And what I was doing was I was taking drugs, and I was ignoring my true calling in life for so long that the anxiety built up. And cascading negative thoughts turned into anxiety. Anxiety manifested into panic attacks. Panic attacks equaled hell on earth for myself. So what was powerful for me was about two and a bit years ago, when I came across, I was already doing yoga and I was living on the Gold Coast, and I was in Sydney, and this really beautiful yoga teacher spent extra time. I told her my entire story and where I was, and I was trying to get off drugs and get off everything I was doing. I basically said to her that I'm a mess. I'd be doing yoga in her class and I would literally break down into tears regularly, and she could see that, and she was very compassionate and loving, and she began to teach me extra stuff on the side, and breath work and stuff like Kapalabhati and Bhastrika's breath, and like all the yogic pranayama style breath work. And Kapalabhati was the thing that shifted me out of that state. So any time, like one thing that was really saved me, There's videos online. I can't show you guys right now, but Kapalabhati breathing is very, very powerful skull shining breath. And what I would use that for was when I was in the midst of a panic attack and I knew it was going to last for like 45 minutes and I was at work or I was at lunch or whatever it would be, I would go to the bathroom, I'd go to the back door of the actual place I was at, and I would sit down. This is once I'd learned the technique and I realized it was working for me. So I went through about 6 months of panic disorder before I figured this out. And I would breathe for 3 minutes. I got to the point where I mastered pranayama and I could breathe. And within 3 minutes, I could snap myself out of that anxiety, panic situation and move through it and then consciously choose what I wanted to experience, transmute that into excitement or happiness or joy. Playing really, really, really effective, beautiful music that made me drop into my heart or dance, whatever it might be. And I would do this all at work or at lunch or wherever I would be. I stopped hiding what I was doing because it was so liberating. So for those that are watching or listening at home or whatever it might be, one of the most basic things that people can do on a regular basis when they feel a cascading thought or a negative thought pattern coming up, when they feel they're in their head too much, which happens to a lot of us in this society.
Yeah.
The most basic thing to do is close down your eyes and just for a second come into the present moment and take 7 deep breaths into your lower abdomen. Just like hand on your lower abdomen. Take some deep breaths through your nose into the lower abdomen. Fill it up as much as you can, and then exhale. And just that I even feel like blissed out right now.
Yeah, I just tried it. It's
even
nice.
3 breaths can snap you out of a funk if you might be in it. Now, if I get the smallest bit of anxiety come up, and I'm walking and I'm doing stuff and I'm busy, I'll just do that. If you ever hang out with me, you'll see me just stop and go. And
it's great. There's
being
nothing like it.
unapologetic about it.
Yeah.
And doing it in a cafe. If you're with your friends and you're experiencing a bit of overwhelm, because sometimes for me it was catching up with friends and getting social anxiety with my good friends, and I couldn't quite pinpoint what that was. But if I could talk on it now based on what I've uncovered, it was a fear of being fully seen, a fear of being judged, a fear of being heard, a fear of seeming stupid, a fear of them finding out who I truly was. All of those things were probably really present, and like in my mind, they were creating this experience of anxiety. But the reality of it is you are the most important thing in your life. And if for 3 seconds or for 10 seconds or 20 seconds or 3 minutes, you need to connect to your breath or go to the bathroom and take some deep breaths into your lower abdomen, then you get to do that with no judgment. I think the society we live in is we're so afraid to be seen, doing something that could be quote unquote spiritual in public because we don't want to be labeled as a certain thing, And I'm sort of in this space now, I'm trying to live beyond that and defy that, where I'm like, if I feel like meditating in the middle of lunch with my friends, I'll start meditating because it's liberating and my friends get it because they know my journey and my struggle, and they know I'm just serving myself and again coming back to self-love. Filling up my cup, because what meditation, what breath work, they're all things for our well-being and to create a clarity in our mind. But they're also a practice of self-love. So as an example, as like key things that I do daily as a reflection of self-love, I breathe every day, I meditate, check in with myself, check in with my body every day, see what's present. I do some sort of movement, whether it's yoga, whether it's weight training, whatever it might be, because the goal is not to be in shape, the goal is health. So therefore, it becomes a reflection of self-love. What I found, because everyone admires, obviously, the physical stature that I've been able to acquire, and if you want to know the secret to that, it's stop chasing being shredded and start actually focusing on health. Like that is my highest, my lead domino is health. I focus on health so unapologetically that I've grown the courage to say no to everything that's not in resonance with me.
Right. That's great.
If I'm at a 6-day juice fast and I'm in day 4 and I go to a friend's party and everyone's offering me a drink, I'm like, hey guys, I'm so happy to be here. I can still be me, I can still be energized, but today I'm seeing coconuts. And not feeling pressured by that, because through choosing myself unapologetically and learning to say no to the BS around us and yes to the self, yes to the intuition, yes to the higher self, and yes to the person I want to be. That is the most empowering thing we can do for ourselves on a regular basis, you know?
Yeah.
And breathwork is a beautiful way to integrate it. Looking at people like Wim Hof,
Yes.
or even like jumping into some of our Facebook groups, because we share a lot of our content in our groups. Like we share everything.
Yeah.
We really, really do give a lot of content for free, you know? So we share a lot of breathwork. And just, you know, keep it very basic. Close down your eyes, shut down the world outside, take 7 deep breaths, and then when you're ready, open your eyes and see how you feel. If you're stressed, if you're overwhelmed, if you've got the precursors to anxiety, if you're in a panic attack, whatever it might be, breathe. Breath is our medicine, and we have the ability to heal ourselves in every moment.
It's like fine-tuning the instrument, right? Of the body.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's really great. That's really powerful stuff. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, talking about health, I mean, you posted also a lot of stuff about gut health and how important that is. Would you like to speak a little bit about what impact that has had in terms of your own life, and like how it can actually help people, and perhaps maybe how it also links to our gut decisions or our gut instinct?
Yeah, of course, 100%. Okay, so what's fascinating, and I got to step back into what my life experience was like. About 3 months ago, I ended up in bed with, it seemed like barley belly, but it was something else. It was my nervous system shutting down because I'd been taking too much action, and I hadn't been I hadn't up-leveled my level of self-love and self-care. So it was a beautiful reminder from the universe. But what happened is my gut was turning, and I was vomiting, and it was coming out of both ends. And what happened was I slipped back into the old patterns that I used to live in back in the day when I was taking a lot of drugs and eating a lot of terrible food. And what's fascinating is you have lost control. I lost control over staying in a positive mindset or in the present moment. I was having all kinds of negative memories and projections and fears come up that I hadn't experienced in a long time. So I'm very grateful for that experience, because it grounded me again. But quite simply, the gut is connected to the brain via the vagus nerve. Now, there are a series of ways we can actually unkink and undistort the vagus nerve to create a clear channel. So a lot of us that are experiencing reoccurring depression, PTSD, anxiety, it's actually due to a compromised gut composition. So why we're so passionate about talking about gut health and actually nourishing the gut and learning how to eat to serve ourselves, because the most powerful diet is actually intuitive eating. Intuitive eating is actually the most effective way to eat moving forward. But in order to get to that place, we need to go through a process of delayering and cutting out all of the refined sugar, all of the processed gluten and dairy and a few other things for a period of time to allow the bad bacteria, anything processed, anything that's in a package basically, cut that out for at least 3 weeks, 4 weeks, start introducing intermittent fasting, and then allow those bad bacteria that are continuously craving sugar, craving pizza, craving burgers, craving lollipop, whatever it might be. That isn't your intuition. That's not your intuition saying you need to eat a chocolate bar. Those are the bad bacteria in your gut via the vagus nerve sending a signal up to your brain and saying, I want chocolate, I want this. The reality of it is, once we undistort that, breathwork, meditation, yoga, diet, relationships, there's a long list of things that actually help us to undistort our vagus nerve.
Yeah.
But my three recommendations for anyone that's listening right now, if you were to do 3 things right now besides the actual food you eat, even beyond the food you eat, and implement that right now into your day, spend 5 to 10 minutes meditating, spend 5 to 10 minutes breathing, breath work, intermittent fasting. If you were to do those 3 things, it will dramatically shift the context of your life. Like, dramatically. Like, if there's any 1-3 things prescription, whether you're vegetarian, whether you're pescatarian, whether you're vegan, whether you're a meat eater, whatever your label is, breath, meditation, and intermittent fasting is the game changer. There's so many layers deeper we can go than that, But that's such a beautiful base. If you're in a place right now where you're experiencing bloating, or you've got an autoimmune condition, or you've got, the precursors to cancer like IBS or IBD or leaky gut syndrome, whatever it might be, breathwork, along with meditation, and then intermittent fasting, because what intermittent fasting does is it gives our gut a break. There's a lot of scientific benefits, but the most simplified way of explaining it is it gives your gut a break, space to actually stop having to always work. And it's coming from the gym industry and the fitness industry and being into like a fitness coach back in the day. I was eating 6 and 7 times a day, and I looked good, but I felt like shit. So I looked good, I had the body, but I felt like shit. So at 26, I'm like, how do I have the body and feel incredible and feel healthy every day? So I shifted to focusing on health, and I got the body as a result, But intermittent fasting, it releases more human growth hormone, brain drive, trophic factor, BDNF. It's got so many incredible benefits. It helps us to balance our hormones. It helps us to switch into a ketogenic state, which is a fat-burning state. It has so many different functions that it brings forth for the body. But the most easy to understand is if we're constantly snacking, this goes against the grain of what the fitness industry has told us. But if we're constantly snacking, eating nuts, eating anything, whatever it is, it could be the most healthy food, but if we're constantly eating, our gut never gets a break. But if we start giving it a 12-hour break, or a 14-hour break, or a 16-hour break, it's getting a chance to actually heal itself. Because if we have gut problems, if we're bloated, if we're getting even anxiety and depression reoccurring, a lot of it can be linked back to the gut. So getting bloated every day isn't fucking normal. Period. If you're somebody that is getting bloated every day, that is your body saying to you something needs to change. If you're eating any food at all and you're relying on coffee just to get you through the day, that's your body saying something needs to change. If you're experiencing anxiety or depression, that's your body's spiritual awakening saying you need to make a shift right now in this moment. And you get to play a bit of closer contact to what's actually happening in your life. And that's why breathwork and meditation are so powerful, because it builds that relationship, builds the intuition, builds a connection with the self, so you can actually go, does this actually serve me? The most important question ever is right now in this moment, does connecting with these people, does hanging out with these friends, does eating this meal, does having this job, does staying in this relationship, does this actually serve me? And if the answer is no, you know what to do, quite simply. So yeah, gut health is really interesting because I could take it in so many different directions, but I want to keep it relatable and easy to understand and things they can actually apply now. So if you can get in a space where you can breathe, and it can just be basic, just into the nose, out through the mouth, or into the mouth, out through the mouth. 5 minutes a day, basic. Bring in some meditation, connect with yourself, ask yourself, what do I need? What will be of service to me today? Or what could I do today that will help me to meet my actual alignment? Or what can I do today that would be of service to myself? Ask yourself better questions. And then intermittent fasting, so that the ideal windows of your beginning is to do 12 hours with no calories. And in that 12 hours, you can implement green tea, black coffee, apple cider vinegar, and lemon. Those are all allowed to have. Some doctors say you can have veggie broth and bone broth, but it comes down to who you believe in. But those are the things you can still have and stay in a fasted or ketogenic state. This is going to lower inflammation in the body. This is going to balance out your hormones. If you're a male, it's going to boost your testosterone, and it's going to help you to balance everything out and give your gut a break. And once you've gotten used to 12 hours, then segue into 14, and then eventually within a matter of weeks, you can be doing 16 hours a day. And then once you've done it for a period of time, then you get to actually bounce and flow through it, because doing intermittent fasting every single day for the rest of your life, it doesn't work. You have to mix it up. You got to, once you've done it for a period of time and gotten phenomenal results, it's then either time to try a 3-day water fast, push to the next level, or a 5-day water fast, and really go those layers deeper, or potentially come back to a place where you start implementing a 24-hour fast once a week. So there's so many ways you can take it. And then if you're starting to get to the point where you notice you're not getting any results anymore, it means your hunger hormones are out of balance and there's hormonally some stuff has shifted, especially for women. It means you get to do intermittent fasting 3 to 4 times a week, and the other days eat breakfast. And breakfast can just be a smoothie or something very basic and easy to digest as well. It doesn't need to be a meal. It can just be a smoothie or something like that. So those are some tips for those of you listening that are wanting to improve your gut health. Breathe, meditate, and intermittent fasting.
That's great. Amazing. So you mentioned alignment. What is your definition of alignment, and how can people come into their own alignment?
Oh, man. I love this question. So how do I define alignment? Alignment is when your head, your heart, and your brain all say yes.
That's great. I love that.
It screams yes. It was like me getting this tattoo yesterday.
Yeah.
I was faced off with my ego as my first tattoo, and my heart, my head, and my brain, my heart, my head, and my gut all said yes. This is the right time for you because it has deep meaning and I have purpose behind it. That's what I believe alignment means. And what's fascinating is when we learn to live in alignment, we choose to make intuitive decisions based on where we're headed for our future or what is of best service to us. We experience gratitude organically. We don't even need to practice gratitude because you're living in alignment. So when you're living in alignment, you don't need to practice gratitude.
It's a natural
your inner world. Exactly. Your inner world, the way that you perceive the world, what you allow yourself to experience. Because every time you say no to something, you're saying yes to something greater than that. You're saying no to catching up with friends that drain your energy. You're saying yes to a new connection with someone that might completely transform your life. So when you're saying no to an old relationship or an intimate relationship, you're saying yes to potentially the person of your dreams.
Right.
But every time you take action from alignment, you start to look at the world that you are starting to manifest, and you're like, oh wow, I now live my dream. For me, I live in Bali. I have a beautiful partner. Like I can flow and do what I please every single day, and my work day flows. And that all came from ferociously choosing myself and taking action from alignment. Does this serve me? If anything was questionable about what I want to take action around is, does this align with where I'm headed or not? Period. And if it doesn't, the answer is simple. It's like, well, if it doesn't align with my future right now, then it's a no.
That's really great. That's a great way to put it, Jared. All right, so the final question that I want to have, and then we can end with just you sharing how people can get in contact with you. Are you ready for this final question?
Yeah, man. All in, brother.
All right, let's do it. So the final question is, what is your definition of a leader?
Ooh. Yes, love this.
Got the sound effects from the dogs too.
The dog wants to answer for me. Yeah, he's all over it. So this is beautiful. My definition of leadership has evolved over time. I've read so many books about leadership. Probably one of my more favorite books over the last 5 years have been Simon Sinek's work around Leaders Eat Last, Start With Why. He talks about leadership in those books quite a bit.
Yeah.
Though that's brilliant content. I love the way he talks about leadership, what it means to be a leader. But in my own experience, in myself stepping into my higher levels of leadership for myself and for my tribe, Simon Sinek says that the most important characteristic a leader needs to have is courage. And I agree with him. But I believe that something greater than courage is actually vulnerability. Now, how that manifests, how that looks, is if I'm in, say, our beautiful coaching program called Become.
Yeah.
And we're setting them tasks. And I'm saying that we encourage you guys to be vulnerable and to share from your heart and share what's really present for you so we can support you guys. But what empowers that is when I'm in that process, that program with them, and I'm sharing my experience of me going through my shit as it's coming up. As an example, last night we did a call and we said, what's one thing we are letting go of that we're holding guilt and shame around? That was one topic, because guilt and shame are the two lowest vibrations that are stored in the body.
Yeah.
And I shared something that I didn't plan on sharing it, but it was connected to some shame that I have from my 22, 23-year-old life when I was chasing women and I was in a very high flyer, hotshot mindset but I was taking advantage of women and experiences and everything all the time. So that was 7 years ago, and I still was holding guilt and shame around it. So I shared that with them, which then cleared the space for them to truly step into their leadership and step into vulnerability. So it's the willingness to really be honest and vulnerable. Whether you're the king or the most important or the biggest leader or the leader of the leaders, it doesn't matter. For them to follow you, you have to be vulnerable. Because true leadership helps people to be who they truly are, holds space for them where they might be in that moment, and guides them into the place they've been dreaming of being their entire life. And a true leader takes no credit for the person's journey. A true leader acknowledges the individual for having the courage to step into the space and actually be vulnerable.
That's really powerful, Jared. Thank you so much for being a part of this show. That was an amazing way to end it. Still resonating for me, feeling the vibes. Got some great downloads from you, and I think that people will really value it. And you shared a lot of interesting facets of your life and different ways that you can really help people to guide their own. And thank you for being such an amazing catalyst and being a part of this journey, man.
Awesome, man. It's an honor to be here, and thank you so much for holding a beautiful space, brother.
Great. So how can people get in touch with you, Jared?
Yeah, so I've got my normal Instagram and Facebook, which is just Jared Grantham, at Jared Grantham, JaredGrantham. Otherwise, what's now starting to take off is our business pages. So we have Limitless Love and Leadership on Facebook in a group, and we have Limitless Love and Leadership as a Instagram page as well. We have a YouTube channel that's just about to launch, and a website's launching very, very soon as well. But the best way to get in contact with us is through Limitless Love and Leadership. You'll find us on Facebook, Instagram, everything else as well. So Limitless Love and Leadership.
Great.
It's a dope. The community there is beautiful. It's about 2,000 souls there right now, and we love that we govern and keep it small. So it's a beautiful, safe container because all of our friends and tribe that are in there, everyone feels comfortable to share and be vulnerable and connect. And whatever people are going through, they jump into the group and they share it, and they get met with support and love and acceptance. And there's just never any judgment, because we're passionate more than wanting to have this huge, massive faithful group that looks incredible. We're wanting to have a safe place for people to share vulnerable. We're very passionate about people feeling that safety and able to be vulnerable. So
absolutely amazing. Great. Thank you so much, Jared. Have an amazing rest of the day, and hope we can catch up some other time too, outside of this show. All right, man.
Awesome, Sume. Absolute pleasure, brother.
All right.
Thank you, man.
Take care. Peace out. Om Shanti.
Peace out, guys. Bye.
Bye.